Shalom is going to be read the following Chodesh Adar, read by the Chodesh Adar base. So we have an extra, we have also Mishpatim. We always have Mishpatim. We have Mishpatim Shem, we have Truma Tetzaveh, and according to the Magen Avraham also we have Pekudei, because when we have Truma Tetzaveh, and then we're going to have Yaakov Pekudei. But one of the essence also of Shavim is the Nekuda that Klal Yisrael was Makabel the Torah, and now this week starts all the dinim of the Torah Kedosha that was given. We have, there's a Shem later, we have Truma Tetzaveh, the building of the Mishkan, the Big Day Kodesh. It's all a hemshich of creating a base of the Shekhinah Kedosha resting in our midst. And that has to do also with the Indian of being Mesak and all the Pagam that have to do with Kedusha, because we already know that the Eibishter says that the Kim Esoy Nezima, he doesn't like inappropriate activities, he doesn't like Pagam HaBris. And even though Chassidus sometimes there is a Pagam HaBris, but the Eibishter wants to see that Klal Yisrael is trying to gain control over themselves, and every Yachid is working to become a better Yid, a holier Yid. Now, there's two aspects we'll talk about. One of them, one Nekuda, was a little bit of a hemshich last week. And one of them really is a whole new Indian. You know, maybe because it's a new week, we'll start with a new hemshich, and we'll start with a new Indian. Maybe we'll get to the hemshich soon. This week's Parshas Mishpatim asher tasum lefneihem kisik ve'avrivri sheishanam tavoy. We know that the Torah tells us these are the Mishpatim that Hashem has placed in front of us. Rashi tells us, K'shulchan Aruch, all the halachas that are relevant. But the first halachas that come up are the halachas of someone that stole and wasn't able to pay, and therefore he has to be sold. Bezin has to sell him as a Eved Ivri. So there's the Nimaminus, this is the sugi of the Nimaminus. They say by the Bikam the Chachamim, they learned Mishpatim, they were able to go through all the sugyas of Bava Kama, of Metzia, Bava Basra, and but now there's a fascinating Zohar HaKadosh that all the Svarim HaKadoshim talk about. And that is, and the Zohar HaKadosh says as follows: this is the Sedra that talks about Gilgulim. Very, very famous words. This is the Sedra that talks about Gilgulim. Question is, everybody wants to know, where does Mishpatim come into Gilgulim? Where does Mishpatim come into Gilgulim? So, there's a famous story of the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh. It's brought down in Sefer Baal Shem Tov. It's a medrash of Pashtus, which I think it's brought in another farm as well. That there was a fellow that was sent, the way it's brought down in the same Baal Shem Tov was that Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh sent the Talmud. The Talmud came to ask, he said, where do we see Gilgulim and Mishpatim? So he said, you want to know where? I'll tell you, go to this and this park, go to that stream that's flowing where there's a tree and there's a bench, and wait there and you'll see what happens. Okay, we say that. That's how Baal Shem Tov a lot of times would answer. We'd send people on the seas to go see what's going on B'Poil, to learn the lessons B'Poil Mamish. So this fellow goes, finds that spot that he figures Baal Shem Tov sent him to. He gets a good spot, he's hiding, and he's waiting to see what happens. All of a sudden he sees some fellow come, a wealthier fellow, and the guy stops by this bench to get some shade, to get some rest, to drink a little bit from the stream that was flowing by. And after a certain amount of time, he gets up, he goes weiter, and the fellow that was hiding, this Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov, notices that this guy that just took a few minutes break left a little baggie, looked like a wallet or some kind of little sack. That I just figured maybe it had some cash inside, a lot of cash. But his job was he wasn't allowed to say anything. He was just watching. And this fellow goes right and leaves it there. Doesn't take a couple of minutes, and another fellow comes, and this fellow comes to drink up and to take some rest, and all of a sudden he finds a whole wad of cash. So he picks up the wad, looks at the bag, turns it over each way to find some money, looks around, screams out, anybody drop this? He's like, no. All right. Puts it in his pocket, lucky day, goes home. Found it, nobody was there, goes some money. And as time goes by, he sees another fellow come, some schlepper kind of fellow. Comes, this seems to be the spot that people enjoy taking a little rest, taking a little drink from the stream. He has his little snack, and he's about to take a rest, and all of a sudden, fellow number one that lost the money comes back, and he says, hey, buddy, give me back my wallet of money. And fellow number three, who honestly has no idea what happened, he says, I don't know what you're talking about. He says, you know what I'm talking about. Look at you, come on, I was just here, shortly before, and I left over here my wad of cash. He's like, Mom, you have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what you're saying. Guy says, what? And he goes and socks the guy in the nose so badly. Guy says, ouch, what are you doing? He's like, give me back my money. He says, I don't have your money. That round two winds up, gives the guy a knocking cuppa, and this guy's head spinning, his gushing, his nose is cracked in pieces, and he's like, just give me back my wallet, we call it even. The guy says, I promise you, I didn't find no money, I'm here, I'm taking a little nap, I want to go weiter. The guy gives him one last final zets to finish him off, and goes weiter. This Talmud Moshe is hiding behind the trees. Mom, he's not sure what's going on. He's like, wait. Fine. Seems like the story is over. The day is coming to an end. He travels back to the head of Baal Shem Tov, who's shooken up. He's like, I don't know. This is spooky stuff. Baal Shem Tov smiles and says, you see what happened? He says, yeah, what in the world happened? So the head of Baal Shem Tov just told him, fellow number one, all these three were around in the previous Gilgal involved in the same lineage. Fellow number one was involved in a business deal with fellow number two, and fellow number three was the dayan that was involved in paskening this Torah. And fellow number three, then the last Gilgal, was a dayan that did not act according to halacha. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. And he paskened that fellow number one was off the hook, and it wasn't Torah. Really, fellow number one, I had to give it the second guy that came to chill under the spring of water the money. But because the third fellow that got whacked wasn't honest, he was the dayan in the previous Gilgal, so the middle guy never got his money. Anyways, life continues until everybody drops dead, and you come back again to be Masakin. Shanta told him, fellow number one was that guy who owed the second guy that money from the last time around. And fellow number three was the dayan that he needed to get patched for being dishonest. So that's what happened. You see over here that the whole Indian of Dinei Mominus, of Mishpatim, is all an Indian of Gilgulim. A lot of times a fellow goes to Torah, goes to ask a Rav Shaila, and he's like, what, this Rav, what is he talking about? How can it be that? I know I'm right, I'm not right. He said, I'm not right. He said, that guy's right. Can't be, this Rav is all right. And the mom starts ranting and raving about. But Lamaisa, this fellow was an honest person, this Rav, and he passed him down. Look, Torah is what's chat. Because the Baal Shem Tov and the Zohar Kodesh is teaching us that a lot of times, probably in all cases, when it doesn't make sense to us, we have to understand if the Torah is machriya. A lot of times people hear a case and like, what do you mean? How could it be? It can't be. This Matzis, it can't be. I know it's right. But if the Torah was machriya, so if the fellow did what he was supposed to do, the Dayanim, the Rabbanim involved did what he was supposed to do, so then the Matzis says the Torah is emes, Moshe emes, Serasi emes. And the world is one big continuation from Bereshit till Mashiach comes. And therefore, there's a cheshbon sometimes that wasn't paid up previously, but will get paid up with the Torah in the future. A fellow says, that guy said, I got to be robbed, me blind. I don't know. They said, something has to happen. It might not happen now. It might happen the next Gilgal. So therefore, that's Pshat in the Zohar. The thing of the Mishpatim is an Indian of Gilgulim. The importance of this Indian is Emunas Chachamim, Emunah in the Torah, because so many times you can have something, a story, a shaila, a case that somebody tells you about, and you're like, wow, Taka, well, this Bezdin seems crooked. But Lamaisi, you know the people of the Bezdin, you hear the names of the Bezdin, it's like, whoa, nah, I mean, this isn't a crooked business. This is big Rabbanim, big Hamid Chacham, that we have to assume if the Taka, Klal Yisrael accepted them as Poiskim, and they paskin the emes, and Avada the Dayanim have a cheshbon with the Eibishter. They have to do tshuva before they paskin. They have to make sure they're saying the right thing. But the outcome, if it comes, that this is das Torah, and it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't have to make sense to you, because if the Torah says this is the story, that this is the psak, and kacha, that's the way it is. And maybe it's something which I didn't see now, but maybe in the previous Gilgal Azoyis. And therefore, a person has to be mechazik himself in such a munah, sign the Torah, sign the Heilige Tzaddikim of every generation, because we have to remember, Netzach Yisrael lo Yishakim. Klal Yisrael, there's no mistakes, not in the Torah, not in Tzaddikim. The mistakes are sometimes in our lack of Yediyah, because our Yediyah has to be that we don't know anything, we know one thing. Yedata Hashem. That's it. Know that everything is the Eibishter. When a person realizes that everything is the Eibishter, you believe B'munah Shleima. Whatever happens, if it's Torah, that's the emes, and a person is going to realize that he's Matzliach and will have Siyata D'Shmaya, and life will be smoother. It will be Zoichet HaTrue Emunah, fixed Emunah, sign the Eibishter, sign his Torah, sign his Tzaddikim, Amen, Amen.
Amen.
Short and to the point.